want to read this because I want you to say this after me. The purpose of White Stone is to kind of uncover our hidden gifts, okay? So today's goal is to love yourself through the darkness into embracing those hidden gifts. So I want you to say after me, I love myself through any darkness, and I choose to embrace my hidden gifts. So, I always dreamed about being a performer, a singer, from the time I can remember. First time I ever stood up on a stage was at a Unity church when I was 8 years old. I might have even been 7. And I sang in front of a congregation at 7 years old at a Unity church. So I grew up in a community that gave me wings. And I still struggled, and I still suffered, and I still stumbled. That being said, I've dreamed about being in front of audiences my whole life. I've been in front of audiences my whole life. I've performed, I've sang, I've been in plays, theaters. I always wanted to speak, to stand in front of a congregation and share something. God through me to you and receiving you back. And if it weren't for all those stones that I've been using and experiencing and expressing as and learning about through the past 15 years, I would have probably not been standing right here in front of you because I would have talked myself out of it. I would have just been like, yeah, I'm good enough. I'm okay. I'm all right. I sing in front of people. That came naturally. That's something that's easy. This is hard, I mean, in my head, this is hard. Being up here isn't hard. I love being in front of people. That doesn't bother me. It's the, what's gonna come out of my mouth? What's gonna say? What am I gonna say? And so I have to love myself into embracing all the things that have led me to this moment. So because I get to embrace this moment and do this with you, I just want to remind you that we don't live into our gifts when we're hiding from ourselves, when we're covering ourselves with darkness. We don't live into those gifts when we hide and pretend and say, oh, that's enough, I'm good, I'm all right. When we're not truly ourselves, we're not doing what we're here to do. Who wants to do what they're here to do? Be who they're here to be. Yeah, me too. Me too. We can't let other people talk us out of that. So the white stone is a reminder of what you get to claim even when someone says, you're not good enough. No, you're too much. Of course, that's one I've heard all my life. You're too big, Terra. You're too loud. You're too much. You can't do that. That's just, hold yourself down because it's too much. And I have to believe that I'm here for a reason. I'm here for a purpose. So I'm going to challenge you, especially when you're coming up to get your stone, to recognize that it's not about defining our gifts. It's about looking for a word that helps us expand into our gifts, loving ourselves into the life that we desire. Can we all say that? I love myself into the life I desire. I want to hear you say that one more time. I love myself into the life I desire. Yeah.
That was good. That was really good. You were a living, breathing testimony of everything we're talking about today.
Thank you.
And there's a lot more of her to come. But that's the courage that we nurture here. That's the courage and the strength that we nurture. And it's wonderful, isn't it, to talk about self-love. It is a necessary first step in the evolving process, in our becoming process. The recognition that I am more than I have ever not thought myself to be. That's what Terra is demonstrating today. I am more, and there's more that wants to have expression through me and as me, but it is a first step. So you have beauty, and now you get the beast. By the way, do me a favor and thank the voice of God, known as Sherry Farmer, for that skit earlier. Sherry happens to be Terra's mother, so I imagine she's used to calling Mom the voice of God when it is necessary and needed. You know, love is a wonderful thing. It's a divine idea. In the mind of God, love is what we are. It is the substance of everything that we experience, see, feel, touch, including ourselves when we look in the mirror. But the awareness is not just enough. So the beast comes in and says, you need to get busy. You got to put it into play. The thing about love and the freedom that love brings, it is a process and one that we need to take part in. Yes, get busy. Pray and then move your feet. It's one thing for a desire to be in a beautiful spirit that says, I want to speak. It's another when the call comes to say yes, and then to take the steps. I'm sure there was a yes, and then hang up the phone, and it went, what the hell did I just do?
Yes.
And the reality is, if your dream does not make your knees knock a little bit, it's not big enough. If what you are answering, the call that you are answering, is not making you a little bit nervous, you're not living life on the edge. And if you're not living life on the edge, you're taking up too much space. And the reality is we are called to forever evolve ourselves and grow ourselves. We are the portal through which love is actively put into motion. The divine idea, that's God's job. As the entire universe, our job is to put it into play. So at UNA, love and freedom and white stones are not just gifts given to us. A lot of churches, you walk in on White Stone Sunday, and they say, here's your white stone, and then you sit down. And I looked at that and said, well, that's what God does. All that God's ever been has been given to us. All the good, all the notions, all the dreams, all the visions already exist in the field. It's been offered. It's the Father's, the Mother's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. But if it just sits there, it's been wasted. And ours is not to waste it, so we need to get busy. Every white stone, I get to tell one of my favorite stories from the Bible, and that is the pool of Bethesda. Here was a man at a pool that supposedly had healing properties. The angels would suddenly drop down and stir the waters, and the first one into the pool is the one that got healed. That's a kind of a limited consciousness. And there was a guy that had been at this pool for 38 years. There are people in the room today that have been a victim for 38 years, that you've been living out of a limited consciousness for 38 years, and every time there was a rustle on the water, he would try desperately to get to that water, and somebody always beat him there. They got in first. And along comes this man named Jesus, representing the Christ of everybody in this room. And he looks at the guy, and it's tough love. Let me tell you, tough love is really important. And he says to this guy, well, do you really want to be healed? Well, what a stupid question that is. There isn't a person in this room that if you ask them, do you want to be more fully yourself, would not say yes, a resounding yes. But Jesus, the Christ of our being, says, then take up your mat and walk. Get busy. Quit putting the power into a pool. Quit putting the power into some fairy tale that angels are stirring the water, and know that the power already exists within you. Get off the ground and move. And that's what White Stone is about. It is about us moving and implementing and no longer defining ourselves by the limited thoughts that we have allowed into the consciousness and the laboratory between our ears. We've been doing a lot of repeating after me. Let's go ahead and keep that up. Place your finger along your head and it says, I am not defined by my history. I am not defined by my past thinking. I am only defined by the Christ of my being right here and right now. The gift of love and freedom and light and everything that you could desire exists. It's always available, but we need to move internally, yes, and then externally, intentionally and purposefully to claim it. So you don't get a white stone. You're going to have to get up, move, take up your mat, and walk. And for some of you, that might be challenging. But I know that you're brilliant and that you'll find a way to do it, even if it's uncomfortable. It's a symbol. In a moment, I'm going to have a human gateway right here. Usually we have these arches. We're going to have a human gateway. People who have put their hand up, like our chaplains who are holding space today, to hold the unbroken awareness of your magnificence, the unbroken awareness of your perfection. They don't see the limits that you've held. They see only the perfection of your very essence and your very being. we're going to create a human gateway. And on one side of that gateway, you're going to leave who you have been. So that when you come down that aisle and you claim that white stone that has your name in it, and name simply means nature, when you claim that symbol of your freedom, you have become who you have always been, but you have forgotten. It's the prodigal son coming home. It's the prodigal daughter coming home to that which maybe took 38, 48, 68 years to forget. Today we remember. Say that with me. Today I remember. Together?
Today I remember.
Energetically, you're going to be asked to leave on one side of that gateway who you have been in order to embrace on the other side who you are becoming in 2023. You see, the universe is set up to respond to us. Basic unity teaching. The thoughts that you are holding are creating your reality. The feelings that you're allowing into your heart are creating your reality. And the actions that you are taking are either inviting in all the resources needed on your hero's journey, or they are pushing them away. Let this be a day of invitation, that your thoughts, your hearts, and your actions are in alignment. This is integrity with spiritual truth.
Amen.
Who said that amen? Winifred, thank you for carrying the banner that Atiba's not here anymore. I heard an amen on the inside. You gave it to me on the outside. When you intentionally walk through this gateway, you are speaking to the universe that you are willing to change at depth. How many people truly, let's get real with each other, are willing to change at depth? That's a tough question. There's a lot of people talking a good game, but let me tell you, talk is cheap. I told you I was going to be the beast. The beauty said, love yourself. Absolutely necessary. Love yourself enough to not put up with your own BS. Love yourself enough to say, when I put my hand up, I follow through. When I put the word in motion, I'm going to follow through. And I'm going to love myself enough to not play small any longer. And that can be scary. Becoming you, being born every day again and again and again, that's scary, isn't it? But if your knees are not knocking, it's not big enough. So I say, this is a quote I found, I don't know who said it, but it's beautiful. Go ahead and dance with your doubt, but you lead. Say that with me. Go ahead and dance with your doubt. Opportunity dances with those already on the dance floor. This is a challenge to you to get on the dance floor, to get into the game and stop playing on the sidelines. Are you really willing to change at depth, to change everything you've known about yourself in order to become more of yourself? Let's read the rest of this. Unbutton your uncertainty. Free your fears. They are indicators of an evolving path.